This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio.
This is ContactTalkRadio.com. Consciousness in action. And you are taking action into your consciousness by tuning into Contact Talk Radio.
And on TuneIn.com, Hing.fm, and UpSnap Mobile.
Contact Talk Radio. Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. Joan and Janet are subtle energy empaths who navigate consciousness. Their passion is to support you in your evolution. As consciousness, we are all one mind, one heart, free of all limitations. Experience this reality with us and discover how it can make a difference in your daily living. Join us in a state of grace as we explore, with warmth and humor, this thing we call life. Now, here are Joan Newcomb and Janet Barrett.
Welcome to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're your co-host, Joan Newcomb, coming to you from Tacoma, Washington, and my partner, Janet Barrett's coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right. It is a big and broad neighborhood.
Yes, it is.
Today, we are talking about consciousness and the power of beyond-the-body experiences. Some people gain greater consciousness with near death, some in deep meditation, and others break down and break through into greater knowing during stressful times. We might be experiencing some stressful times. Join us as we explore what happens to us when we have these incredible experiences, and also how we all benefit from them.
Yeah.
And do you want to let folks know how to go deeper with us and connect beyond the show?
Sure. We have a great new website. Well, it's not so new anymore. www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet.com. And there you can listen to the show podcast for the last couple of years, I guess. Access both Joan and my websites. And both of us write weekly. She on Friday, me on Monday. So you can access the blogs. And we always have the list of meetups. Joan does the Puget Sound area, covers the area pretty well. Every week she's someplace different. And then all about our sessions. So how you can work one-on-one with us. And you can reach the show on Facebook, Joan and Janet on Facebook. We have a fan club there, and on Twitter. Joan's on Twitter. So, and you can subscribe to us on YouTube, and you can have a lovely marathon with us there. So many different ways to join us.
That's adorable. We have a fan club. We have a fan club of raving fans. Yeah, we have a Facebook page, and you can be a fan, or you can just be a friend on Facebook. So, but you will get all our announcements and things like that. And let me see. We have the third Thursday of the month, we have a conscious conference call. So the one for November is November 17th. It's at 7 p.m. Pacific. It is a way to get up close and with us. So if you have been listening to the podcast and wishing you could chime in, our topics will spark ideas, you can call into our conference call and join us. It's a wonderful, intimate, small group experience. So there's a different feel in coming into heart space on the conference call than you have when you're listening to the podcast that's going out to, tens of thousands of people.
Right. And, people can connect from all over the country, certainly. And we really focus on honing our skills about accessing heart-centered awareness and taking the time to apply it to the individual and what might be catching your attention, and then certainly what's going on in our daily lives. So it's always vibrant and interesting and different, and sometimes so very profound and always full of laughter and a great time. So be sure and join us one of those times.
And you can sign up on our website. Like Janet had said earlier, it's www.consciousconversationswithjoanandjanet. with Joan and Janet. And if you go to events, you'll see the November Conscious Conference call will be on there. And join us, sign up, and you'll get the phone number and access code.
Yeah, lots of good ways to be connected on any kind of different level that you have. So we appreciate you so greatly, listener, and all our listeners. And there is no time or space. There's only consciousness interacting and having fun. And we like to share that with you in however it can have meaning for you. So please join us that way. And what are we talking about today? We're going to have experiences, aren't we?
We are going to have experiences, and the experiences that we are having today are all about consciousness and beyond the body experiences. And you and I have had, well, yes, you and I have had experiences, but you had a specific one, and it wasn't near death in that you didn't die on the operating table or something like that, but you were in a hospital and you had an out-of-body experience. What was that like for you?
Well, it was, I think I was 29 if I remember correctly, and I was having a surgery, and the next day out of the surgery, I collapsed. And I remember them calling for the anesthesiologist, which was interesting because it was a day later. And I apparently had stopped breathing, and I was aware of being above myself, watching all these people in code reds and code blues and whatever was going on. And they're going, "You're not breathing. Janet, breathe. Janet, breathe." And they're pushing on my chest and stuff. And I'm like, "I'm breathing. What the hell are they talking about?" I was doing just fine, thank you very much. And in that transition of coming back into myself and how I felt after that experience, I was just, reinvigorated. There was, I had another 4 or 5 days in the hospital, and they would come in and check my breathing. I had to breathe in the breathing apparatus and get the lungs back to working and stuff. So there was definitely physical repercussions. And then this whole sense of being was like, oh my gosh, I got out of bed and I was walking a mile a day later, and I never really went back to bed. And that lasted for the period as long as it lasted until other stuff started to come up. So it was really a life-changing moment or moments, and very aware that I was here, I was there, and, all those different things that can happen for you.
It sounds like it woke you up to that you were more than your physical body.
Maybe so, I don't know. I'm such a physical empath. I feel so much all the time. It's hard for me to make distinctions at times, or in my past history, to make distinctions about what was me and what was someone else and stuff. So it was a way of reorganizing some of that for me, certainly. And, we all have different gifts and capacities and awarenesses, and we want all our listeners to understand that whatever you're experiencing is unique to you, but we can share in similarities, and we value all of it. It's all good stuff. And you've had your experiences, certainly. Yeah.
Yes, and what I was thinking is that mine was an out of body in that I have had expansive experiences along the way, and I had training that basically told me that I was more than my body and learned techniques. But I have had a couple of profound experiences that tipped me over, and similar but quite not as impactful as say Byron Katie or Eckhart Tolle. Both of them had some similar breakthroughs where they hit a level of just agonizing depression that kind of broke down the egoic personality, and then the next day they woke up without it and had that tremendous expansive experience. And for me, I hit a breakdown of incredible pain and made a step away from, the first time was from a dysfunctional relationship, and was enveloped in love. And it's like, I'd like to know what I did right then, because it was like suddenly I was enveloped in love, and it was an experience that went on for 9 months. And the profound thing about it was a sense of well-being and an ability to come back into center within myself. And, as an empath, it's really hard to find a center when you're in the swirl of all these other people's emotions. And that the sense of well-being and this just being in love with, in the way I described it then, was in love with God, in love with life, and then in love with myself, and in that order. Regardless of the outer circumstance, I still had to pay the bills, I still had, these concerns, and yet I was always able to come back to center. And then I had a mini experience about that, similar to that about 10 years ago, and it was a different kind of breakthrough. And I had a similar sense coming into me of that infinite love, but it was a turnaround, whereas I was in love with myself, in love with life, and in love with God, and in that order. And I had a sense of my specialness and my worth that I had not experienced before. And that was just only about 6 or 8 weeks. That was a short, that was a short revisitation. And you could get really stuck on trying to recreate that or find that same experience again. And it's not found going backwards, I would say. It's not found repeating. It's not a system you can create.
Right, then that becomes a pattern, right? And it's a habituated response, and even that can be negative in its way. But I think what's interesting is that there's all kinds of experiences to have. There's all kinds of experiences that, as you talked about in the topic of the show, whether it comes through meditation, whether it comes through this physical crisis moment, trauma or something. And you see it with people like who have cancer issues, right? And how their life changed and they got so much out of their experience. And there's all kinds of different ways to open and awaken and expand and what it might take for us to let go if we're in the right mindset about it. That makes a difference, because I know lots of people who've been electrocuted, for instance, and hit by lightning and things like that. And in knowing them, how it changed them, they couldn't tell you. And you didn't see, oh, this is a wonderful person now kind of thing. And the context that they put that experience in was, oh, well, nothing's ever been the same. And it didn't necessarily bring them this opening that you and I are describing.
Right. I have a few more things to say about that, but I'm going to keep you in suspense. Yes, we have to take a commercial break. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet, and stay tuned because we'll be talking about consciousness and the power of beyond the body experiences when we come back.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath, accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, talking here with Janet, and we're talking about consciousness and the power of beyond the body experiences.
It's what you do with them, no? I don't think we can predicate what kind we're going to have. It's just you have to go, whoa, okay, here's an opportunity. And let's get into heart and let's see what shows up.
Okay, sure. And I'll chime in the extra things I was holding from before.
Oh, right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, yes, before I lose them, because we drop into heart space and suddenly it becomes a non-issue.
There they go. Okay.
So the couple of things I was trying to remember is that within this falling in love with life kind of experience, I was at a workshop in Issaquah with David Spangler. And I can't remember what the assignment was, but it was walking through these woods, and I had this impulse to sing a song. A song came into my head that I had always associated with this relationship that had painfully broken up. But I let myself sing it, and it opened up this heart space, and I had this falling into love that was a little bit scary at first because I thought I was going to lose myself. And what I discovered was I fell into it, and I had more of a sense of myself in the midst of all this immense love. And so my feeling is that when people have near-death experiences or they have breakdowns and breakthroughs, the most profound thing they take away from that is that they are more than their physical body, and they are more than their defined personality. And you are this magnificence. You are more than who you are beyond time and space. And if we all remembered that and we all lived our life from that awareness, how the world would be transformed.
Totally. Yeah, some things are coming to mind as we of friends and people who have these experiences, and it's what you do with the experience and your awareness of how you allow yourself to learn and grow and just be, right? Because sometimes we love agendas, but they can be very dictating. And it's really when you let go of how you think something has to be. And that's usually what happens with these kinds of experiences. The story stops. It stops for just a moment, or it stops for a period of time. And it gives you a way to recalibrate, look at where you are and who you are, and it provides that opening to redefine and to go on and be more so. So are we ready for heart now, you think?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. All right, everyone. So remember, there's no time or space in consciousness. So wherever you are in time and space and listening in with us, in the present, in the past, or in the future, wherever it might be, just notice that and just allow yourself to become aware of your heart and your physical heart. Just start there. Be grateful. Put a hand on it. Be so appreciative. It is your symbol of life. It is your connection as consciousness in a human form. And so just embrace it and know what that would be like. You remember, the heart is the first physical organ that develops in an embryo. So it's the center of everything. So go to the next place. The second definition of heart, which is emotional terrain. And so we welcome the ability to feel physical, the ability to feel emotionally, and allow those flavors in. And there's no point in denying them, and there's no point in trying to control them. There's no point, period. There's just this sea of information there. So you may have one emotion more than another that's at play, and we just welcome it. Not be attached. You are more than your emotions, but they certainly make life interesting. So just notice that. Okay, there we go. And then go into the third meaning of heart, which is core, essence of all. And this is where you and I are one, where we welcome our experience as consciousness again. And it's the infinite sea of potential where nothing is. It all comes apart here, gives us the wiggle room. And just notice that. This is where we are back to the level of awareness, as much as you can hold that awareness, that you are particles of photons of light, photons of biomass, and resonances and frequencies and vibrations and information. And information is usually our stories, and those contain the patterns of how this all puts together. And we are just this mass of patterns in this matrix that is the form of the body. And so we appreciate it and also realize that on the level of awareness that we're holding where we're all one, we lose that individuality of form. Still there, but it just really kind of recedes to the background. And so just notice what it's like to be present. This is really where there is no time or space, so all there is being present. So just notice how you relate to this state. And for those of you who have training in consciousness technologies or are sensitive to energy dynamics, just be aware that things might seem a little soft. You might feel a little less solid, which is just perfectly fine. You're safe. It's just you're embracing the place where nothing is what you think it is. You're embracing the place where things can come apart or have come apart, and you're just slow to the awareness of it. I had someone ask the other day in group, I want to be in my heart. And I said, you are in your heart, always. The only thing that shifts is your awareness that you're in your heart. Well, I want to send out love. And I said, well, how can you not? There's no work to this. It's just the awareness is all we're looking at. And we love these bodies. They are our vehicles for expression here. It's consciousness that's expressing itself in its joyous dance. So just notice how you relate to that. There you go, Joan. What you noticing?
I'm reflecting on your thing about how we're always in heart, even if we don't know it. And it's, I would express it as that we are always consciousness, even if we don't know it. And we might be focused in different places. You might take someone who's very analytical and their main focus will be in their forehead, in their analytical ability. They're not going to experience heart space. As consciousness, you are actually, as consciousness, you're in all your spaces. But dropping into heart space is a place to experience a more expanded, unified consciousness of all there is, and the more unified consciousness of all you are. And that's constant. That never goes away. But I think your body personality's experience of it bops all over the place.
Yeah, I think it does. But I would say we're always consciousness, so we're always
right
in this. It's just the awareness that moves in and out. And for that analytical person who doesn't, he's got a different focus.
Right.
So it's just a matter of shifting focus, and there's your awareness. So as you shift awareness back to it, and that was the mindset of the fellow who asked the question. And he's been doing years of study about the heart. And I'm like, well, let's just bring it back that it is there. You don't have to go look for it. That is there.
It reminds me of a woman I knew who had spent most of her life, I mean, she was a lawyer, and she had spent most of her life, in a very intellectual state. And when she was in her late 30s, she suddenly decided that she wanted to have children. So what she did was she went back to school to get a PhD in child psychology.
Okay.
Which did not exactly help her, A, produce a fertilized egg in her body, and B, didn't necessarily help her with anything about parenting, because you can get PhDs and it can be all about statistics, and kind of miss the point of what you're really trying to get to when you have a child, which doesn't need a fertilized egg in your body to do that either. So, there's, your child exists for you whether you adopt or push them out, kind of thing. So, or whether your child ends up being, furry, which is a wonderful way to not have to pay college tuition. I really, when my oldest son was an infant, I was so tired. I just wished I could leave him in the kitchen on a newspaper with a bowl of water so I could go grocery shopping by myself. But I never did that. That would have been so scarring. But so where were we going with all that? So yeah, I wandered off in some different directions here, all over the place.
Well, I think what you're talking about is certainly with the gal is she was exploring more her fear of having children than to have the child, which is the way it hits me now. It might not have been then, but
I think there's a couple of things going on, and I also don't want to lose. I just remembered where I was going, so I don't want to lose that necessarily.
Okay.
But there's a couple things going on. One is there's a biological urge that your body has an urge to create, and it doesn't have to create babies. It can create all countries. You can create corporations. You can use your creative energy for all sorts of things. So your body doesn't have to create that, and sometimes we create because we have this urge to love, and we also have an urge to heal our own childhoods. So becoming a parent is a great opportunity to parent differently than we were parented. So I don't know why that came in out of left field here today. Obviously somebody wanted to hear that.
We are talking about different ways to experience ourselves as consciousness. So
right. Okay, great. So, yes. So, the thing I was going to say, which is, I say this every show because this is my mission. It is for people to realize that they are consciousness. They're not their body personalities. Their body personalities is their creation to experience this physical reality. So their body personalities are their creation. It's more than just that. It's a vehicle to experience physical reality. It's your creation in this reality that you have created. And you can have a loving relationship with your physical form. And you are more than that. So it's a huge paradigm shift when you shift from the limited, painful, uncomfortable effort, hitting lots of blocks, things outside of you have more power than you do. From that perspective to, I am an infinite being. I am magnificent consciousness. Anita Murjani, who had a near-death experience, her book is Dying to Be Me. And she said, she came back to tell people that, to remind them of their magnificence. You are infinite consciousness, and you are magnificent. And this world is your playground to experience the physical reality and savor and enjoy this physical reality. And it's a complete paradigm shift when you step up to, for you, Janet, would be dropping down into heart space and experience this expansion. For me, it's a stepping up out of the bottom of the fish tank and, driving, mixing my metaphors, driving your car from looking out through the windshield as opposed to someplace else.
Well, and I think what we want to let our listeners know and share with them is that there's many different ways to know yourself as consciousness.
Yes.
Right? Yes. And you don't have to have the near-death experience unless you've got that organized that way. So it's how you as consciousness are choosing to experience itself as life. And that's where all your patterns and your stories and perceptual biases come into play. And most of us, and I'll say most of us, in my clients, my own experience, I notice there's a tendency to have it all stop. and it has to stop now. And that's what the accidents are, and that's what the slap in the face is, and that's all these behaviors, and it stops us because we're such habituated thinking creatures, right? And it's like, what would it take in order for you to have a different experience? What would it take for you to wake up to what's going on? And it can be through disease, and it can be through an accident, it can be through trauma of another sort, and all very highly effective methods. And we're just looking at, well, give yourself permission in how you've had your experiences, and know that you're okay. And in this state of heart-centered awareness, the field of unified consciousness, zero-point field, whatever you want to call this, that there's warmth, support, and non-judgment. And it's just grace. And so you take all this conversation and we hold it in this place and we allow ourselves to relax a little bit. And there we go. And so everyone just notice that you could relax a little bit. And that how you experience life and yourself as consciousness having life is unique to you. And give yourself permission to notice it that way. It's not more special than anyone else because we're all equal in this. But it's the way you've chosen to experience it. And so what you do with these experiences, some of us hold on to the experience and forget that it brought us to this point of awareness, and we forget the awareness. We just stay stuck in the experience or what. And that's all about the past. That's really not being present. So just notice that. What if those things could just soften? And what if it's a matter of shifting of focus. And it's like looking from the right and look to the left. Excuse me. And just see what looks different.
So did you turn your head to the left and cough?
Yeah, I think so. Or I was in the middle of it.
Maybe Tom is in your space.
Yeah, that could be. Yeah, we do share stuff like Tom being my husband of 40-some years. Yeah. I got it. I got your reference.
I was going to say, we don't have...
Sorry, I was in another space with it.
We don't have that gland.
Yeah. So. We have our own gland, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just notice, I am in his study. So, yeah. It is about, I always am going to go with the word wonder. I think a state of wonderment. My experiences in the physical body have brought me to such a deep appreciation of life. And I've tracked that the way I track that for myself. And whether I'm in it or out of it, I just hold the appreciation, and I'm kind of letting go of the distinctions that I have to be someplace to experience information anymore. And it's just about the state. And I really appreciate that. I just love life, and I love how it shows up for people and what we can all do with it to manipulate it. And how our stories hold all that information, and that it's just a story. And some people are going to stub their toe, and some people are going to see blue. It's just different ways to get to some state of awareness.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of heart energy going on here.
There is. And yes, and the other thing that I want to remind folks is that this physical reality is a physical experience. And we tend to get confused and want to have a spiritual experience, which means being out of your body. Oh, and the thing is, when you die, you suddenly realize that that's you were all along. Yeah. So the point of being here is to experience physical reality. And it's a lot more fun when you're experiencing physical reality as consciousness. then you can see it as a playground. Then you can have fun playing. That's where there's this sense of exuberance. There's a sense of well-being. There's a sense of pleasure and enjoying the moment. I'm going to jump back to well-being because it is the sense of no matter what is going on in the storyline, because the storyline can get
quite deep.
Yeah, or can get kind of dramatic, but that's how you are reacting to the storyline. You know, if you are coming from your body personality perspective, then there's something wrong, and then that's where it can get dramatic because it's all a life or death experience. But if you really think about it, what part of you is concerned about life or death? It's not you as consciousness, because there is no death as consciousness. It's your body going, I'm not going to make it out of this lifetime alive. This is a very serious situation. And that gets relieved when you are physically present in your body. Your body relaxes and calms down because it knows there's somebody driving the car. You are there physically manifesting through your form, and that's when you aren't lonely because you are occupying on space.
Well, and that's all the stories we have about mind, the power of the mind. And so the body can be in some kind of physical experience and in some physical reality, and the mindset can hold it okay while having that. And you can see it with people, for instance, who have POW experience, who really were able to put that into some kind of place and be able to deal with their situation.
You know, I'm not talking about mindset, though you might be, so
yeah,
that's not what I was talking about. So.
Right. Okay. And then I have my a friend who had, and he's a healer. He's been doing his work all his life, and he got an infection and with a couple of days had to have his foot amputated. And everybody was kind of horror-struck because he's a masseuse and he's a big man. He has to stand. And when I talked to him like a week later, he was like already had put it in the context of how it was useful.
Yeah, he was in a sense of acceptance with it. And I would guess that's not a mindset, but that was like a spiritual acceptance.
Probably. And I think sometimes they overlap, certainly. And it's, those are kind of distinctions that kind of probably get really soft sometimes.
Well, maybe I'm confused about mindset because I think of that as more of a, when you're talking about mindset, it's an intellectual way of thinking. So if you shift your thinking, then you're shifting your experience. And, our conversation here is about consciousness, which is beyond the mind. Consciousness is something that can't be logically articulated necessarily. So it's a shift in awareness. It's a shift in experience as opposed to you've changed your thoughts.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that I respect that. And I also respect that being able to change your thoughts is an act of consciousness.
Yes, great. Yes, I'll agree with that.
So, and being able to put things in different contexts, that's the power of consciousness. And that is probably what's at play in those moments where we think it's our thoughts and it's really consciousness that steps forward in that sense, or wherever the physical recedes enough that we become more aware of what else is going on. Right?
Wow.
Because the body is a great focus. The body serves as a focus. And sometimes that can be a trap. And so it's in consciousness going, oh, okay, let's get bigger here.
Well, it's not it depends on how you want to define it as a trap. It can be a trap if you forget who you are in it. And it can be a trap if you okay, so for instance, if you have a 2-year-old and the 2-year-old is having a temper tantrum and you're on the floor with the 2-year-old experiencing that temper tantrum, you've kind of lost your perspective. And if you're standing up as the parent and you're maintaining a calm demeanor, it can go a long way to calming down the 2-year-old. Mm-hmm. And our bodies are 2-year-olds. And consciousness, we are infinitely wise and infinitely patient with it. And it's outside of the intellectual aspect of our brain that wants logical explanations. And so when we're receiving information from the greater aspect of who we are, it tends to come intuitively. It tends to come in revelations, in inspirations, in intuitive hits, sometimes visually, sometimes just a feeling. If you're trying to, write it down, you'll get chunks of things that you can articulate into words, but it's not an intellectual process is what I'm trying to say.
Well, and I think on the different levels of we understand states of rapport. Right? Mm-hmm. The biggest state of rapport is with ourselves as consciousness. And so in allowing ourselves to experience our information that way, I think we have to value that. It's not only a state of rapport with others, it's all of us, and it's with self. And what comes to mind is how the physical experiences breaks, and you were using that word before, breaks some conscious sense of the ego into allowing for other information to present itself. And that so much comes out of those. And those are really stressful situations to the physique and to the mind. And the give that happens and how we sometimes have to go to that place in order to get that to shift. And, the only people who can really value their experience are those who are having the experience. Anyone else is going to be in a state of awareness of it or relate to it in some way. But, when we are in the middle of the storm there, we have a different sense of awareness that takes place, I think. So that's what's neat about all this, is being able to acknowledge, be grateful, and then, how's this useful? I always love that. How is this useful? Is it just an experience, or is it something that I can, maybe I just need the experience. Maybe that's just information enough. I don't have to do anything with it. I just have it. Yeah.
You're talking about the eye of the storm. I thought, well, that's another time where people will experience it, and it's not necessarily a split, but it is that they're in the middle of a crisis. They're in the middle of and a greater aspect of themselves comes through to power them through, get them out of the tsunami or whatever, powers them through to surviving. And what aspect of me did that? Because I couldn't do this. My leg was broken or whatever. And so, we'll create sometimes supernatural experiences to experience ourselves as supernatural. And then the challenge becomes, how do we continue that in our daily life? How do we take this on a day-to-day experience? And that's, the essence of you and I in our conversations, is how we can have a bigger awareness and appreciation with whatever's going on in our daily life.
Well, I think what we're kind of leading into is where we shift states of reality, where consciousness makes available that there's more than one way to deal with anything. And a lot of this is about shifting states of reality. And we can call them alternate realities, or we can call them parallel universes. We can call them lots of different things. But it's where other information becomes available. And how to hold that state, because like what you were talking about, your 9-month experience, that was a state awareness that was there, and what came out of that. And it's not that particular way that state was defined or originated has to continue on forever. What it did was, it was like the portal. It was the opening for other stuff to become present, and then it just its own energy kind of took itself out, probably. But you find yourself someplace different 9 months later than you are, and that's what was it? That a birth, a pregnancy?
Well, you know what? You make a good point. We're talking about portals to different experience, and we're experiencing a pure portal time. So because we need to take a quick commercial break here, and we will be seeing you on the other side in a portal of new experience. So you're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. We're talking about the power beyond the body experiences, and we'll be back after these messages.
Is your soul calling you to do something more meaningful with your life? Do you feel crazy for wanting to quit your secure job? Perhaps you are waiting until you retire to do what you love. Maybe you are too daunted to follow your dream. If any of these match your life, then Joan Newcomb's Purpose and Passion Coaching Program is just for you. In just 12 weeks, you will discover who you essentially are and why you are here. Learn to live as your greater self and navigate with conscious mastery. Go to joan-newcomb.com. That's joan-newcomb.com for all of her coaching programs. Would you like a fresh approach to the challenges you are dealing with? Take a journey into your enlightenment with Janet Barrett. Janet is a subtle energies empath accessing the field of potential with warmth, humor, and support. She will help you to hear what your inner voice is saying. She will share with you how to appreciate who you are now and offer you new ways to understand and transform your issues. Reach her at www.janetandbeyond.com. That's janetandbeyond.com. Again, janetandbeyond.com. Transformation is possible. You can enjoy new outcomes in your current experiences. They can happen in the blink of an eye.
You are listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. To reach our program, please send questions and comments to consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. That's consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Now, back to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet.
Welcome back. You're listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan, along here with Janet. And we are talking about consciousness and the power of beyond the body experiences.
There's all kinds of ways to be powerful, right, in our body experiences. That's for sure.
And be more powerful than our body in our body experiences.
Yeah.
You know, it just occurred to me, it's like people I know that that are highly sensitive and they feel very vulnerable, and then when they go through an expansion of power, you know, their body expands as well. And Oprah is a great example of this. She's gone up and down, and the more recent time was when her TV show was ending, and suddenly, you know, her body went out of control, and she had explanations for it, like her thyroid or whatever. But what she was working on at the time was she was becoming a network. You know, this has got her name on it, and she went from just being a TV show to being an entire network, and it showed up in her body. And I suspected, which is happening now, is that at some point she'd reach an equilibrium and start becoming manageable again. So now she's doing commercials for Weight Watchers, and that's her avenue for it. But really, I think she has settled into this new phase of power. And we can be, as energetic beings, we are infinite, we are the globe, and so we can have that, and we can have it in our itty-bitty form. I'm thinking about the quote from Aladdin, and from the genie in Aladdin. It's like, infinite power in itty-bitty living space. And our bodies are, more compact energy than we are, and they can feel kind of vulnerable, especially when, we're sensitive and we feel lots of different feelings. And as consciousness, we can be more powerful and be anchored in form, and we don't have to stretch the body for it. I don't know where that came from. That just popped out.
That's so very nice, isn't it? And there's all these different ways of being, and there's all these different ways of incorporating, and there's all these different ways that the body follows the thought. And most of us are unconscious of how we think about things until we're brought into a moment of awareness and you realize, oh, I didn't know that's what that was. And then you realize, and that's one thing is the gift in the body, is that if we look at it as a way of viewing of how we are part of the bigger picture as consciousness, it's an excellent tool to tell you where you're at. And we are more than our symptoms. We are more than what we feel. We are more than what we think. We just are consciousness at play. And for some people, this is a real challenging, reorganizing concept. And for you and I, it's not so much a concept. It's our reality. And we're all at different places with that, and that can change. And, I think what's interesting is when people do have these graphic experiences, physical experiences, and all of a sudden they see angels everywhere. Or they see, they hear something all the time. Now, something different is expressing itself, and that might have been what we needed in order to have that part of our life open up and our abilities and skills.
Yes. I am feeling motivated to mosey on to
down the road.
to letting people know about ways to stay in contact with us.
Okay.
And we have a website. It's ConsciousConversationsWithJoanandJanet.com. And there you can go listen to the podcast. We have our previous shows on there. You can also access my website and Janet's website. We each have very interesting websites. We also write very interesting blogs. Janet puts hers out on Mondays and mine goes out on Fridays. You and I both do different meetups, and you do yours twice a week in the comfort of your own home in Portland, in your very comfortable, lovely, and very artistic home in Portland. And your experiences with Meetup are pretty amazing, I will have to say. It'll make you fall on your butt on her very comfy sofa.
Literally.
Mine are held in libraries around the Puget Sound because I'm itinerant. So you can see me in Seattle, Bellevue. Actually, this coming weekend on November 5th, I'm in Tacoma, and then the next weekend, next Sunday, the 6th, I am in Bellevue, and then on the 13th, I am going to be in the Kent Library. So you can find out more by looking at the site on Meetups. I'm all around the Puget Sound. You and I do different kinds of sessions. Janet does sessions remotely by phone and by Skype to people around the world, and you can be sitting down so you don't have to fall over, but they have a ripple effect out into your life. Wouldn't you say that, Janet?
I think they ripple, yeah.
They ripple? They ripple. It can be a fudge ripple or
people don't
something.
expect the ripple either, but they get
Right.
rippled.
Yes, yes. And I'll say the things that people learned at my meetups. Mine are standing up and walking around, and conversations also. They're conversational as well. So you get all ahas in all sorts of different ways. Mm-hmm. But the thing they don't expect is that it, too, has a ripple effect out into their lives. And they'll come back like the next month, and their whole life will have transformed. So I think that is pretty cool.
That is so cool, Joan. It is so cool. We so enjoy people in how they take this information and do their thing with it. Right?
Yeah.
And it's about this state of being able to make things happen. So.
Yeah. My focus, even though I was trained as a healer at one point, but my original focus was a meditation teacher. And my focus, and I'm also a certified professional coach. So my focus is on coaching and on teaching, and I have combined that. I have a couple of coaching programs that take you through learning how to do these consciousness technologies. I won't say that. They're consciousness techniques because they're upgraded experiences of the things that I've been teaching for 35 years, but my old techniques were like dial-up, and I've had to upgrade them to Wi-Fi. And so you get tastes of that at my meetups. And then if you want to know more, go to our website and find my website, and you'll find out more about my coaching programs. Also, you can subscribe to us on YouTube. You can binge listen to all the archived shows on YouTube if that is your preference to do that. And I'm also on YouTube. I put out Mystic Minutes, which are more than just musings. There'll be mental techniques and things like that on YouTube as well, on my YouTube channel. And I post that on our website as well.
And we have our free conference call on November 17th, 7 p.m. Pacific, where we'll take that hour and play and explore and consider what's going on in our daily lives and how to have a new approach with it, maybe. So.
Yes, so that's November 17th. As Janet said, it's at 7 p.m. And you can sign up on our website, Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. You enter your email and you will get the phone number, and you'll get reminders about the phone number as well. And it's just a wonderful way to get up close and personal with us, energetically, remotely, on the phone.
Definitely. And we want to thank you all for joining us today. It's been fun.
Yes. You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. I'm your host, Joan Newcomb.
And I'm Janet Barrett.
And I'd like to thank you for joining us. No matter what time or space you're listening, you have co-created it in this moment. And tune in next week for the show that is the day after the election. I'm presuming you'll all still be here. Same time, same channels.
Goodbye, everyone.
You've been listening to Conscious Conversations with Joan and Janet. And thanks so much for helping to co-create the show, no matter if you're listening live or on demand. You energetically contribute to our collective experience. Joan and Janet love to hear from you and invite you to email your comments and ideas for them to explore each week. Contact them at consciouswithjoanandjanet@gmail.com. Tune in next week for another great show, and until then, keep enjoying this wonderful adventure we call life.